The Tony Foundation is a foundation created by Tony that helps to support patients financially. Tony and I have worked together for many years, and one of the things that he realized was missing as a resource in not only the Austin area, but just in oncology in general, is financial assistance for patients. Often, along with a cancer diagnosis comes an interruption in their job, their ability to work, their income changes. And while that happens, their medical bills increase. It can become quite a hardship. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of resources for financial assistance related to an oncology diagnosis. Tony Foundation helps to support people in that way.
The Tony Foundation is about 3 years old now. It is a phenomenal resource to have access to. It's hard to put into words what a gift it is to be able to meet with a patient or a family and hear about all of the struggles that they're going through on top of the cancer, and know that there's a resource that can be offered to them. Sometimes the patient has had to stop working, oftentimes, and sometimes if there is a spouse or a partner, a lot of times they also have to miss some work to help care for the patient. And then there's other situations where it may be a single parent, and that's just really, really difficult.
And that's hard because I think a lot of times when people have an oncology diagnosis, there is an expectation that you hear there's support, there's help out there. And so the realization is that now there are resources and there are a lot of different types of support, but the financial support is where we just don't have a lot to offer.
Before we had access to the Tony Foundation, there was nothing else that was available to be able to provide assistance for basic needs. Unrestricted funds was unheard of. So to be able to have the Tony Foundation right here in our local community is just absolutely incredible. And to be able to serve families here in this area and not have that competition all across the country. He's able to put the financial assistance in the hands of the patient that needs it the most really quickly. And there's not a lot of red tape and strings attached that make the process take weeks and months. It's very, very quick.
I mean, patients, again, they're able to provide for their families. They're paying mortgages, they're paying for treatment, they're paying for childcare, they're paying for all of these basic necessities and all of these things that are making it easier for them to get through treatment.
He provides assistance to any type of diagnosis. And underneath the cancer umbrella, there are many, many, many different kinds of cancers. And although there are some types of assistance available, we talked about kind of nationwide, some smaller grants here and there, they're very specific to a certain type of cancer. And it's so meaningful to be able to not have to think about, okay, is this one of those cancers that has some kind of assistance? It's any kind of cancer. And that is incredible.
I think one of the things that does make the Tony Foundation unique is the relationship that Tony then builds with all of these patients. So when he connects with the family and provides this grant, I know he keeps in touch with them, and I know he's a good source of comfort and support. He's been there, he knows how they're feeling, and so I do think there's some long-term relationships and bonds that are formed, and it's just a feeling for these families that people care, and that in such a hard time, there are people out there that are donating their money and donating their time and really wanting to be that support.
So I think one of the other devastating things about cancer is how it completely takes control of your life in every aspect. And one day you may have had complete control of your own schedule and you knew where you were going the next day and where your kids were going, and then cancer came along. And when that happens, there are so many pieces of that independence and that control that are taken away from patients because their schedules are now dictated by appointments and scans and tests and lab work and treatments. And they may want to work but may not be able to figure out how to fit it into their schedule because they have all these other obligations all of a sudden that they have to meet. And it can be really discouraging to patients and their families when they have that sense of a loss of control. Well, when Tony Foundation comes along and provides this grant that's so unique and unrestricted funding, it's so empowering to the patient because they get to choose, they get to decide where to spend that money and how it will best benefit them and their families. And that's unheard of in the world of financial assistance.
Getting a cancer diagnosis, supporting somebody through a cancer diagnosis is tough. I think it's important that people, look for resources to help. It's tough to go through alone. It's tough to go through without feeling like you have a lot of support. So whether it's emotional support, financial support, there are a lot of great resources, and we're very fortunate here in Austin that we can connect patients with resources. It's not something that you have to go through alone.